Let's start the meeting.
Yep.
Steve, can you call the order, please?
Chris Sturbaum. John Saunders.
Here.
Doug Bruce. Sam DeSaller.
Here.
Susan Dyer.
Here.
Deb Hutton.
Here.
Bernard Cross.
Here.
Jeff Golden.
Here.
Duncan Campbell. Derek Ritchie. Jenny Southern. Matthew Seddon.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the March 25th, 2021 meeting. Second.
Okay, John Saunders.
Yes.
Sam DeSaller.
Yes.
Deb Hutton.
Doug Bruce is here.
Okay. Deb Hutton, did you answer?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I agree.
Okay. Doug Bruce.
I abstain.
Susan Dyer.
Yeah.
Susan Dyer.
Yes.
Bernard Cross.
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Motion carries 6 yes, 0 no, 1 abstain.
Okay, so let's move on to COA staff review.
This is 1126 East First Street. It's a contributing home in the Elm Heights Local Historic District. 1955 ranch. Request actually doesn't impact the historic home. We're talking about the removal of a mature sycamore tree right here in the front yard. I asked to get a tree assessment from professional arborists stating that the tree indeed needed to be removed. I got that assessment, I provided in the packet, and I approved the COA.
Great. All right, so let's move on to commission review. We have tonight, COA 21-13.
All right, so this is 1215 East Hunter Avenue. It's located in the Elm Heights Local Historic District. It's a contributing front gable style bungalow built circa 1920. The request is for construction of additions to the side and rear of the house. So we'll look at those real quick. I believe this carport here is going to be removed, and then there's going to be addition to the side here, out this way towards this alley. And then there's going to be an addition on the rear here, which you can see on the plan. So we have about a 12 by 12 foot bedroom going to the north towards the alley. And then we have this approximately 36, 37 foot addition going to the east. I got the directions wrong. That's going to the north. This is going to the west. So looking at the design guidelines, the scale, form, and materials of the additions are compatible. They meet the guideline standards, which state that the additions should not visually overpower historic buildings, and that the materials and details for additions should be complementary to the existing building. So you can see here, this is the addition going out to the side. We're using lap siding on the addition, which is on the original structure. And then this is the addition to the rear here. So the location of the additions to the side, really, and to the back and to the side. So if you can see the front of the house, we're talking about not to the front here and to the side, but to the back of the house and to the side. The placement of the additions there and to the rear really conform to the guideline standards that ask that additions not obscure the primary facade. So staff finds that these additions meet guideline standards and recommend approval of COA 2113.
Great. So I see we have representatives of the petitioner. Do they anything to add? Can't hear you, Steve.
Can you hear me? This is Steve Miller.
Yes.
Okay, if you can hear me, I'm just here. If you have any questions, I'll be glad.
Kelly, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't think so. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Okay, Deb, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Susan?
No, I don't either.
Doug?
I saw on the application where it said windows were going to be replaced as well. Is that still part of the project?
We would like to, if it would be approved.
Okay.
Any other questions, Doug?
That's all I got.
Sam?
I got a bunch. So my understanding is this house sits on the north side of Hunter Street.
Correct.
So do we have an elevation, a south elevation of the property? We don't have anything that I can see that faces the street in our packet.
Steve?
You just showed the photograph of it. That's what it looks like.
That's the north elevation. I'm asking about the south elevation, which shows the front of the house. The north elevation should show the rear of the house. Is that true?
Yes.
So I don't have a south elevation in my packet.
Well, that's the existing, when you looked at the photograph from that you just showed, that is the front elevation. We're not changing that at all. That right there.
Actually, right where Conor's cursor is, you are changing the street facing elevation where you're putting an addition onto that existing bump out. So I'm wondering how that's being addressed, both in terms of, well, for the whole addition, I'll just sort of lay out all my questions since it doesn't look like we have a south elevation. I'd like to know what materials you're planning to use for the additions, if you're planning on doing exposed rafter tails, if you're carrying the band boards around all the way. I'd also like to know what you're doing with that existing masonry chimney on the bump out. And if there are original windows in the existing structure, that's one part of it. And then for the new construction, what the new windows in the new construction are going to be. And then for Conor, a question, have we got any feedback from the Elm Heights Neighborhood Association?
I sent that over to Jenny and the crew. I spoke to Jenny today, but it was on another topic, and I haven't got any formal response from them on this.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, in terms of the exterior materials used, we plan on matching what's existing. As far as what kind of windows will be used, we aren't entirely sure yet because we want to get approval before we started getting estimates. So if there's a recommendation, we're certainly happy to, follow whatever recommendations are in place, should we be allowed to replace the windows. And I believe the chimney will be removed completely. And were there other questions that I missed? You said quite a few, so.
Yeah, so are there some original windows in the existing structure that you want to replace, right?
Yes.
All right, so I guess type-wise, it would be helpful if you have any idea what kinds of window you're going to do. Is it going to be a wood window, a clad window, and if there are any windows that are facing the street?
Well, we basically wanted to look at what the cost would be should we get approved to replace the windows. So I don't really have a full answer for you in place for that right now.
So
Gotcha.
before we can approve this, we would have to see the windows. That's just
you'd have to see the what?
Yeah.
We do like to see a manufacturer specification sheet so we know exactly what's going in. We can, you know, there are a couple of manufacturers that we know are good, and there are a couple of different kinds of windows that we know are good. I mean, as sort of a rule of thumb, we love good windows. We kind of choke on, well, this part of we chokes on clad windows and hates vinyl windows.
Okay. Well, I mean, really, we'd be happy to work with whatever is going to work for historical. I just don't want this piece to be something that holds us up if it's the only piece that we have to get approval on. So if wood windows is what you would prefer, then, you know, we can go that route if we're replacing.
What are you there, Steve? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. We've Pella, usually they're clad just for low maintenance, but they've got like 35 colors that we were just going to match the existing if that was the preference with a wood clad Pella double hung window to match all the trim, all the details.
So my last question for the moment is, what are you planning to use as a foundation material on the addition?
We haven't talked about it. The ground is coming up there, probably hide most of it, but right now there is, looks like some stone there. I haven't talked to Kelly or the builder about budget, but that could be, if that was important there on the backside, we could do a limestone veneer there that would be of that same scale. I don't know if they would prefer to use, I don't know, would you guys reject a split face block with the right color? If it's just showing 1.5 courses above the ground?
I think that's for the roundtable. We'll get, I think we'll address that when we get to comments. But that's all my questions. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay. John?
Yeah, what kind of siding are you going to be using? Is it vinyl, cement?
Well, I think it's 4-inch reveal, and I haven't really talked to Kelly about that. People have been using wood grain cement board with real Miratech wood grain corners to paint it in to look like wood, but it's a lot of people are going to this wood grain cement board. Do you guys have a concern about matching that same siding reveal and same color, but really repeating all the trims at the corners and the fascia boards with whether it's smooth or wood grain? A lot of times those are smooth, but the house, it could be smooth as well. I don't know. Kelly I think they're mulling that over. If they're going to replace windows, then they may get into talking about shutters and so forth. So what would be your thoughts about what we should do there on the siding?
Jeff?
Who are you asking them to? Me? Us? The commission?
Well, I'm just asking if
there are guidelines around what kind of siding should be used. They're in the Heights guidelines. They're pretty restrictive. You know, my guess is that it would need to be smooth. It would need to match the 4-inch reveal. Concrete board is fine. Probably not any wood grain.
Right.
Yeah. So it's hard for us to approve this project because we don't have the materials.
I mean, this looks like
that's matching siding. That's all we've shown is matching siding. So if then the choice would be a cement board with the same reveal or Smart siding.
That would be fine.
We're just going to the smart siding, but I was asking you guys what, in this case, what would you prefer?
I am unfamiliar with smart siding. Would you tell us about that?
About smart siding?
Yes, sir.
Well, you know, there's cement board, and then there's the imitation. It's a fiber that is paintable, and it doesn't create dust like cement board. And a lot of people are going to that. It's a horizontal wood look, but it's actually a fiber that isn't cement. It's a wood grain fiber, and I think it's just probably artificial materials that is manufactured now to last, doesn't get woodpeckers or carpenter bees, and it looks just like wood, easy to use. So that's what a lot of people are going for. And then they use trims. They've been using Miratech, smooth side out, which is the same thing. It's just a fiber board that doesn't rot and doesn't shrink, and you know, easy to paint, and 2 coats of Cabot's finish on it. It'll get a 25-year warranty.
I guess what I would say is I would avoid any wood grain.
Right, so it'd be smooth.
But I think we're getting off track a little bit. So let's go through questions. I apologize for derailing.
Thanks, Sam. John, do you have any other questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Renard.
I think I share most of the sentiment with the rest of the panel in that I don't think we have information here. I'm even having a problem trying to orientate the map to the ground or the plans to the ground. I'm not familiar with that side of Bloomington. I mean, I don't want to repeat what other people have said, but there just isn't enough information here for me to make a decision right now or to support this right now.
All right, great. Thanks, Renard. Doug?
I think our position, or Kelly, what Kelly and the builders are talking about is matching. And we thought we would come to this meeting and see if, as far as using real wood, you know, that would be painted, back painted, and have 2 coats of finish on it versus an artificial that looks like wood. Does that matter to you guys? And I think they would be interested to get it approved by you guys to do whichever you would say would be your preference. Okay. Real wood is just usually, you know, higher maintenance. It expands and contracts, you know, like this natural wood with moisture and temperature, where these artificial ones will stay put for a lot longer. So the preference from a maintenance point of view would be to use a wood grain, I mean, not a wood grain, but a fiber smooth that looks just like wood, but it can get a long-term warranty on it and look just like wood with all the trims, the corners, fascia boards, matching the existing house.
Okay, great. Doug, did you have any questions?
Did I have any questions?
Yes.
No, I already had mine about the windows.
Okay.
I have comments, but I don't have any questions.
All right. Great. I don't have any questions either.
Is this flush with the addition contain the ridge line?
I do have a question. So the addition, is the ridge line the same as the original house? And this north elevation, it looks like it's low. Is that correct?
That's from the north, right?
Right, yes.
And that new addition that you see where the little step down is?
Yes.
That's because the roof in front of it is an existing, and that steps back there, so that is a narrower addition. The first addition is like 14 feet wide. The next one, the new one, is 12 feet. So the gable is, with the same pitch, steps down right there. Just, you can see, yeah, it's hard to tell. We have to match the pitches, and so that's just the way it looks.
It's just the drawing. I see it. But the front to rear ridge line, that's all the same. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's all the same.
Okay. Okay, great. Are there any questions from the public? Okay, let's go on to commissioner comments. Deb?
Well, I think for final approval, we'd probably want more information to come to us so that we could actually see what choices they'd made, but that would be see what other commissioners say.
Great. Susan?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Doug?
Yeah, I agree with Sam, and that's why I asked about the windows, because I know it said windows if the budget could, if they could afford it. And I know, you know, we tend to be and should be more protective of windows. So I'm not for replacing the windows. But typically we would want to see information on what windows you would be proposing. It certainly would help us, and maybe a condition of the windows that you have now. Certainly I know the additions will have some windows in it. I'd like to see how they're going to match the existing windows. And I agree with Sam that we need to see the south elevation from the front, because that bedroom addition is going to stick out and be visible. And then I'd like to maybe see some of the materials that we're talking about. I mean, the drawings are great. I always love seeing drawings by hand. But I'd like to see some of the materials labeled. I tend to, you know, we've approved a lot of cement board and hardy plank and smart type of siding. So I don't have a problem with that. I certainly agree that it's less maintenance than wood. And honestly, it's really hard to find good wood siding right now anyway. So as long as we were matching the existing, but knowing some of these things and having them pointed out and maybe some pictures of what you're proposing would go a long way to help us get this approval. I don't think there's enough right now to approve it. I don't disagree with it in principle, but we need to know a little bit more about the materials.
Right. Sam?
Yeah, I think this, you know, on the surface of it, looks like it could be a very good design. I think it's well laid out. I think the scale of it works. I appreciate the, you know, the echoing the pitches of the existing roof and the intention to follow through on matching the existing materials. That said, we don't have the information that we need to approve this. I'd like to see a south elevation. I'd like to see places where original stuff is being demolished, like the chimney. If you're planning on removing any original windows, we need documentation of their condition. As far as materials, we're fine with cement board. We just don't like the fake wood grain stuff. We like smooth stuff. You can use real wood. We don't mind that, but the maintenance is there. And then as far as, you know, the windows themselves, it looks like you're doing a bunch of double hungs and they're all 1/1, which seems to, for the most part, seems to match the what's existing. So that's, you know, have no issues with that. But we do need to see labels and lists of materials for the siding, for the roof, for the trim, for the foundation, and have that labeled on the elevations, as well as, you know, manufacturer data, especially for the windows, and if there are any doors that are visible from the public right away.
Great, thanks, Sam. John?
No additional comments.
Renard?
I agree with everything that was said. No additional comments.
I also agree with everything that was said. I also am concerned about replacing windows. They look, it's hard to tell what kind of condition they're in, but we're in Elm Heights. This is the most restrictive historic district in Bloomington. And I'm guessing that once we hear from the neighborhood, they're not going to be excited about replacing windows, especially in the front of this house. So we have a couple options here. And I'm going to ask this of the petitioners. We can table this to our next meeting with your approval.
Could I insert something?
Deny, and you can come back with a new proposal.
Can I say something, or
yeah,
is it
absolutely
okay? On the west elevation, all right. So you see up at the top it says new to the left and old to the right.
Yes.
Okay, everything to the right is exactly the existing windows. Nothing would change there. If they replaced windows, they would put that exact same size window in there. Everything to the left matches the windows that are in the rest of the house. So that was the whole intent of this drawing, is to say, okay, to the right, the old, that is the existing, and to everything to the left, we would match everything exactly, siding, trim, everything. I think what Kelly is saying, if you guys would approve the replacing the existing windows, if they're Pella wood windows clad, same color, matching, is it okay to replace the windows? I think that was the whole intent of this drawing.
Here's what we typically do in this situation. We get an assessment of the condition of those windows, and we only allow replacement of windows in a historic district like this if they're so badly in disrepair that replacement is the only option.
So then I think Kelly would withdraw that comment and just say, we'll live with the existing windows. And then my comment is, if we're leaving the existing windows, which are double hung of a certain profile, we would match those windows and Pella's got 3 or 4 different ones that, or we could go to Marvin or Anderson.
Yeah, I hear you. Here's what we need. We need a list of materials before we can approve this.
Well,
and we need
so I can't just tell you what it is.
It needs to be written down, so we have a written statement that we can make a motion on.
So I mean, I was hoping that you would just say, as long as you're matching in the minutes here, and the approval is you're matching the existing siding, existing windows, then we're okay. That's what we were thinking was going to happen.
It doesn't sound like that's what the commission is willing to do. So we can table this to the next meeting, which is in 2 weeks, or we can deny and you can submit a new COA. And
Kelly, are you there?
Yes.
What would you?
I mean, it sounds like that's our only option, is to table it for 2 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
And you just need the material list in writing. Yes. And how would you like to receive that?
You can get with Conor and he'll work that out.
Yeah, you guys can just email that to me or write it in a document and send that to me. And also, I think the HBC is asking for a south elevation as well. If Steve could draw that up.
All right. What about the foundation, you guys? If that is the easiest thing, or the typical thing would be to match it with a concrete block that is either stuccoed or leave the joints exposed but match the exact color. Or we could use split face block. Or are you going to require?
We don't typically require stone foundations now. I would propose what you think is best.
Yeah. I'm not following. Are you saying use real limestone veneer?
No, I'm saying we typically would not require that.
UCMU block.
Block is okay?
Yes.
Okay.
And then as far as the list of materials that you're looking for, should I just email Connor and clarify all of that?
Yes.
And
Okay.
and Steve, if you would label your elevations with what goes where, that's also helpful.
But right now, we're not replacing any of the existing windows. Is that the preference? Sounds
like your preference.
Okay, great. So I'll just list that it's the double hung, the size of it, and the manufacturer.
Yes, that's correct.
What about color?
Color is not in our purview.
All right, if I say match existing color, but
you can do whatever color you want.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay.
Okay, so I need a motion to table.
So moved.
Second.
D.
Okay, Don Saunders,
Yes.
Doug Bruce,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Bernard, you there? You're muted, Bernard.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries 7 yes, 0 no, 0.
Thank you guys for your patience, and get with Conor and we'll get this worked out for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, no demolition delay, no new business, no old business. Any commissioner comments tonight?
I have one.
Yeah.
So Liz Mitchell, I don't know if you guys know her. She's a local historian, African-American woman who's been in town for quite a while. Came to me with some concerns about the B.G. Pollard Lodge over on 7th Street. There's been talk and desire to turn that into some kind of museum at some point. Nobody's really made the effort to purchase it yet, but she did ask the owner about it. And his intent really is to hold on to it long enough that he can tear it down, according to her, and put up apartments or something like that. So I asked Conor if there was a way that we could do something more to save it. It's in a conservation district now, so any demo delay would have to come to us. But I just wanted to know if there was a way to designate it as a local landmark or something, and to put that on everybody's radar.
No, and yeah, we since it's already in a conservation district, a multi-property district, it's already locally designated. We can't really add a secondary single property district designation on top of it. So, you know, any type of demolition would currently require a certificate of appropriateness by the HPC. So it's already, you know, protected essentially as a landmark in that regard. I don't know what else we could do proactively beyond that to promote reuse of that building, but all that would hinge on the owner of it being willing to sell and give up the dream of developing it into an apartment complex. So potentially the best route there would just to have an honest conversation with the property owner about the likelihood of that idea. And maybe he'd be more willing to sell and turn it into some sort of local museum. I don't know.
Hey, Conor, a while back ago, we were talking about some sort of ordinance or something to prevent demolition by neglect.
Yeah, so we've explored that, and I've looked at that, and there is language in Title 8 that kind of ensures that property owners have, there's maintenance standards to locally designated buildings. There always have been. We've never really enforced them or found a desire to go out and force someone to repair a historic building. So we have those standards in Title 8. I think Daniel Dixon's on the call with us. Maybe he could talk more about that if he's aware of those, since he's our attorney representative.
Conor, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I would probably need to look into that just a little bit longer, and I can get you an answer though pretty quickly.
That would be great.
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, because I think that's maybe the owner's goal right now is to let it sit for a while and do a kind of demo by neglect thing. So if we want to keep an eye on that, we need to know what we can and can't do in that regard. So that'd be helpful then.
Thanks, Conor.
Yes, thank you.
Any other commissioner comments tonight?
Jeff, I've got a comment if I,
Yeah,
well, in line with Conor and Susan, today's my last meeting on the Historic Commission. I've been tapped to take Don Griffin's place on the Redevelopment Commission.
Congrats.
congratulations.
So hopefully everything I've learned from all of you folks, which is a ton on the Historic Commission, and mind you, their terms are only 1 year at a time. So if they don't like me or I don't think I fit there, I know there's some spaces always coming open in the Historic Commission and I will be zooming right back. But in the meantime, I'm going to learn what Redevelopment Commission does and do my best to take care of the city from that perspective.
That's so good.
Good for you.
Great.
We'll miss you.
Well, it's a big jump. Thank you so much for befriending me and teaching me so much.
Thank you for your service.
I have one other question, comment. For Conor 2.0, do we have a description? Because I think, you know, it would be, I would love to be able to pass that along to architectural and preservation schools if we have that. So if you could disseminate that to the commissioners. I know we can't really replace Conor, but we'll do our best.
You can certainly replace me. There's a lot more capable people in the world, but we don't currently have a job description written up. I mean, I have an old job description that I could send along to you informally if you wanted to, on your own time, send that around. But I don't think the city has officially advertised for my position yet. So this would all be kind of off the radar, informal type stuff. But I can email you a job description that I have, Sam.
When's your last day, Conor?
My last day with hand is May 14th, so my last meeting is May 13th.
That's only a month away. Mm-hmm. Not rushing into it, are we?
You know, the wheels of bureaucracy turn slowly.
If at all.
I would like to raise a little point about this project that we saw tonight. Typically, when we see additions on a historic building, we really want them to differentiate themselves from the original building. And I kind of had a little trouble. If I didn't see this new and old arrow on this drawing, I might not know what is new and what is old. I think this project lacks a little bit of that really important differentiation because it's really easy with the shape of this house and its simplicity for an addition to be mistaken for an original feature that would just further confuse people who are trying to look and understand this house. So I just wanted to caution you guys that I think this project may need a little bit of differentiation. That's why I was wondering about the roof lines, because if we're just doing one continuous roof line all the way across the whole building, that reads as one original building. Here, obviously, we have a little step down, which I think is preferred, but there needs to be kind of breaks and hyphens and step downs with the addition, so it's clearly differentiated from the original. I just wanted to bring that little piece of historic preservation philosophy to life for you guys just to think about.
Well, if that's going to be something for Steve and the owner to work on, they probably better know that now so that in 2 weeks we don't say, the commission doesn't say, well, now we have another item you have to make a change for. So it might be something to warn them about.
It's true. I mean, that's part of the reason I wanted the south elevation, because there is an existing abutting a new thing. So I agree, Conor.
Okay, and I'll have that conversation with them. I'll probably talk to them tomorrow about it, and we'll see if we can make some small design changes that accomplishes that differentiation. I'm sure we can. It doesn't have to be crazy. You know, even the siding can be differentiated to a certain degree. Maybe it's just a little wider of a reveal than the original. You know, there's a lot of different tips and tricks you can do with trim and stuff like that that can help differentiate. an addition. I think this just might need a little bit of work there in that category. But I'll talk to them about that.
Great.
Yeah,
comments?
I didn't think, Conor, they had a very good understanding of how our commission operates, because I think they're used to the Brown County, Columbus commissions, which might be a little more looser than they are. And I kind of felt that in our conversations, they didn't understand everything that we're trying to get to. So if you have an opportunity and when you're talking to them to convey that you know, we really want to know what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a little bit of miscommunication between us. You know, I think I actually had to ask Steve to redraw a site plan, and I didn't catch the not having a front elevation, which was, you know, I think really critical in any type of addition where you're going to the side of a building. You know, if this was just straight back to the rear, I think a front elevation might not be as important. But yeah, that was a great catch by you guys. And I think we did a good job vetting them, and the end product next week's going to be better. So that's what we do. And that's why you guys come here every other Thursday. So thanks for that. And we need to continue it. Don't let it stop, even though we have some people moving and some people leaving, but you guys need to carry that on. Oh, I will say one thing. We are currently still working on the core building, trying to get proposals for that to redevelop it. So, you know, we're currently looking at a basket full of proposals. Some of those look pretty positive and pretty encouraging, you know, for some low income housing there. So we're currently in the works on that. So I think preserving that, getting that to council was just a great decision. And I think it'll definitely pay dividends for this community in the future. So you guys are doing an awesome job.
Any other comments? I don't think there's any public here. Any public have a comment?
Any public comment? Okay.
Great. Any announcements? Great. Thank you, guys. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Conor.
Thank you.